Yes, Karan, please start.
Campus.
So before we begin, I request every student to kindly keep their mics off from the session. And in case of any query or question, kindly drop a message or raise hand, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. So yeah, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. With this beautiful quote, let's start today's event without any further ado. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. The NSS unit of Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, is conducting a webinar on National Organ Donation Day to raise awareness and debunk myths and misconceptions related to organ donation and transplantation under the campaign of Angdan Mahotsav. I would like to welcome you all to a highly anticipated webinar on organ donation. I am Kanan Agarwal, and I'm thrilled to be your host for this very important event. Before we begin, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to our guest. And so organ donation is a critical aspect of healthcare that often goes overlooked. The impact of organ donation goes far beyond the recipients themselves. It can transform the lives of families, friends, and entire communities. One donor can give hope to numerous individuals, providing them with a second chance at life. Today, we will hear inspiring stories of how organ donation has brought hope and healing to those in need. Our webinar is graced by esteemed experts and individuals who are directly affected by organ donation. And I'm super delighted to introduce our first guest speaker, Dr. Ajit Singh Narula, who is Principal Director of Nephrology and Kidney Transplant at Fortis Escorts, Okhla Road, New Delhi. He is Director at Army Hospital Research and Referral, New Delhi, Senior Advisor, Medicine and Nephrology to Armed Forces India Professor, and Head Department of AFMSC, Pune. Now, I would like to introduce our second guest speaker, Dr. Vishal Rastogi, who is Director of Interventional Cardiology at Fortis Escorts Heart Institute, Okhla Road, New Delhi. He has done MBBS and MD from Banaras Hindu University, DM Cardiology from the prestigious GB Pant Hospital, and advanced training in managing heart failure patient at Texas Heart Institute, Houston and Brigham, and Women's Hospital, Boston, and also Fellowship of Society of Coronary Angiography and Interventions and American College of Cardiology. Thank you both of you for joining us today. Now, I would like to invite both of you to take this discussion further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kannan and Raghavendran, for having us speak to you. Like you know that once in a year we have these organ donation days. So there is a lot of publicity, a lot of publications, there are a lot of fanfare, a lot of celebrities signing the donor cards. And once the day is over, people forget that they have to pledge their organs. So we thought we'll take it a little more seriously this time and reach the youth of the country and explain to them as to what exactly is organ donation. I'm Dr. Narula and my colleague is Dr. Vishal, as has been introduced by y'all. Very often when you sit in a didactic lecture, there are so many questions which cross your mind, but you don't get an opportunity to ask or you hesitate to ask. So how we have planned this webinar today is that Dr. Vishal and I are going to be talking to each other, asking ourselves some simple questions which we faced when we first got into the field of organ donation. We did a survey amongst young doctors as to the awareness of organ donation. And you'll be surprised at the number of misconceptions and myths that surrounded donating an organ. So today we both propose to talk to each other and dispel your myths on organ donation. So the question arises is, now Dr. Vishal is a very accomplished physician who's been dealing with cardiac transplants. So I think he'll be the best person to talk to us about why should we talk at all about organ donation today. Dr. Vishal?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Narula, for asking this question. And I guess that this is the basis for what we are talking today. The enormity of problem is so much that I am a cardiologist, and I see these patients in desperation day in day out. That without a suitable organ, they are suffering and dying. We have the heart failure now has taken enormous proportion, and this is the actually common end pathway where all the patients who have suffered from heart attack or any other heart disease like valvular heart disease, and they end up becoming very breathless, very symptomatic because of the heart weakens over a period of time. And we have so many drugs and devices to help these patients, but ultimately what they need is an organ, is a healthy heart, which can be replaced and transplanted into them so that they can achieve normal life. You can realize that the other organs are also there, and Dr. Nirula will be talking about it. But heart is the only organ which is donated only by the deceased donor. That means person who is brain dead can only donate a heart to others. And there are approximately 50,000 hearts required as of now in this country, without which the patients are suffering and they are dying of this condition. And we are doing only 100 transplants a year. As in this country, we are doing only 100 transplants a year. This is a very, very dismal number. And the basic problem why we are not doing these transplants, we have the expertise, the government has the infrastructure in place, and we have so many organizations which are helping us in this. But despite that, the organ donors are very, very limited in numbers. Despite having so many road traffic accidents, so many patients dying of brain diseases, but we are not able to harvest those organs, and we are wasting those organs, and that's the primary reason why these patients are suffering and dying. So that's a very important topic, burning topic, and we should be discussing about it. Dr. Narula, what do you think about kidney condition?
Yeah, actually, whenever we explain the need for organs, what drives our explanation is statistics. We should have numbers to tell you that how backward we are lagging when it comes to organ donation. Let me give you an example. These statistics are not mine, they are with the National Organ Transplant Organization. In the year 2013, I have these figures that we did about 4,000 live transplants in this country. And today, almost 10 years later, we are still doing about 12,000 transplants. Now, what is the requirement? The requirement is about 1.5 lakh transplants a year. Next question comes is, what about deceased donor that Dr. Vishal mentioned? That is people who have beating hearts, but brains are dead. How have we gone around this? Somewhere in 2013, our figure said that we did 340 only deceased donor transplants in a country of 1.5 billion. But in 2022, that is 10 years later, we have done only 904. So you can imagine how far behind we are lagging when it comes to organ transplants. So it's very important to know these statistics when we discuss that. Why are we celebrating this day? We are not celebrating. In fact, quote unquote, we are mourning this day that we could not do more for our patients who are suffering from chronic illnesses. What is important is, like he mentioned, why are we not able to increase our number of donors? There has to be something which is holding our donors back. So Dr. Vishal has done an in-depth study into this, and I'd request him to tell us on that.
So one of the very important reasons is the myth, and this myth comes from not only our own fiction books, Robin Cook, that we read, but also from the bad portrayal of this from movies also. And where there's a lot of commerce involved into it. There people think that these organs are bought and sold. That's why they are really not thinking of coming forward and donating. Also, we do not have a simple opt-in versus opt-out principle, and we'll be talking about it. But then not everybody is a donor because they are not aware about it. And a lot of patients, they just die on a road without getting any medical attention, and they are not suitable candidates for the organ donation. So we have to dispel these myths. We have to bring that concept there that in deceased donor, the organ donation occurs in such a quick succession that there is no commerce involved in it. There is no, of course, the finances, the donor family has to pay for the procedure in whichever hospital, government hospital or private hospital they are in, but nothing is bought or sold in terms of organs. This is an absolutely philanthropic job. There is no the organ is given to a hospital without any cost. They don't charge for any whosoever is harvesting the organ and giving it to other hospital. There is no charges to it. The organ is priceless. It's not there's no money involved in that process. So that's one very important aspect.
So Dr. Vishal has thrown a few terms: organs, donors, deceased donors, accidents. Now, to the untrained mind, these sound a little gibberish. So let us clarify one by one what these terms mean in organ donation. We all have heard that there is a live donor. भाई माँ ने बेटे को किडनी दी, बहन ने भाई को किडनी दी. Yeah, unfortunately, the heart cannot come from a live donor. It has to come from a brain dead donor. But in organs like the kidney, you can have a live donor. Organs like the liver, you can have a live donor. You can shed one kidney or give part of your liver to someone, and that person can live without harming yourself. So these are living donors. He used a very important term, what is known as commercialization. We all have read that so-and-so doctor, so-and-so center banned because they were charging money, because the donor was taking money. So this commercialization put our transplant program down due to these unethical practices. So how do you get rid of this? The demand is so much, but the supply is so little. So you come to the concept of deceased donors, that people who die, they should be able to give an organ to someone who needs. That leads us to a very difficult question, that what is death? How do you decide a patient has died? And if he has died, how do you decide if he's fit to give the organ or not? So I'm sure Dr. Vishal will tell us that how do you decide a patient has died?
So there comes the concept of brain death versus circulatory death. Till very recently, when the THOA Act, which is the act based on which we are, retrieving organs, this came into practice in 1994. Before that, only patients were declared dead when they had circulatory arrest. When they were, the heart had stopped, ECG is showing flat line, they record the ECG, and then now you can declare a patient dead, which can be, and you note that time, which is the time of death, and you give that certificate to the family that this patient is dead. Unfortunately, if you wait for that long, that the heart has stopped and all the organs have stopped functioning, and then you declare a person dead, then organ donation cannot happen. So then came the concept of brain death. Brain death is a process in which the patient's brain is irreversibly dead. That means that patient cannot have, there is no chance of recovery. And if the heart is still functioning, the oxygenation is being maintained by ventilator support and other methods, then this patient can donate his organs, which are still functioning normally. However, if this process takes too long, if the patient is not deciding, if the family is not able to decide about the organ donation, then all other organs are going to die also very soon. So brain death is now considered as a legal terminology, and if the person is declared brain dead, then the ventilatory support and other support systems can be withdrawn, and patient can be the body can be given for cremation, or if the family wishes, they can donate the organs. So this is a very interesting and very important concept of brain death, which is different from coma.
Yeah, so I can see two very young people there in the screen of mine. So if you don't mind, can I ask what is the average age of the audience that we are speaking to?
18 to 22.
Good. So आज जब आप लोग घर जाएंगे, घर में दादा है, दादी है, दादा को तो पता नहीं होगा, दादी है, नानी है, तो आप उनसे पूछेंगे कि जब कोई मर जाता है तो हम उसी टाइम पे क्यों नहीं उसको क्रिमेट करते या दफन करते, हम क्यों थोड़े टाइम पर उसको घर में रखते हैं, कभी सोचा आप लोगों ने? So this is what Dr. Vishal is trying to say, that the definition of death changes depending upon who is talking about death. Our scripture say कि जब आत्मा परमात्मा से मिलती है, that is when the man is dead. इसलिए हम कुछ घंटों के लिए उसको घर में रखते हैं. फिर डॉक्टर्स क्या कहते हैं? जब हार्ट स्टॉप्स बीटिंग, that is irreversible death. But if the heart stops beating, most of the organs you cannot take. You can still take the cornea, you can take the bones, you can take the skin, but you cannot take those organs which pulsate, like the heart, the lung. You cannot take those organs. Or kidney you can take, but a damaged kidney. So this is where the concept of brain death has come. That is, heart is still beating. The man is on a ventilator. The machine is breathing for him, but his brain is not working. Have you heard of that famous Shah Banu case in KEM Hospital, Mumbai? Have you all heard about that? So this was a young nurse who was gang raped in the hospital, and she lay in coma vigil for years and years and years together. But she was conscious. Her brainstem reflexes were working, but she could not respond. She didn't know what was happening. She was opening her eyes. So that is not brain dead. So what he tried to say is that brain dead is not to be confused with coma. Brain dead is not to be confused with vegetative state. So how do we as doctors decide a patient is brain dead? That Dr. Vishal will speak to you.
Right. So, just to make this process very transparent and to take away all those myths and all this commercialization, the hospital which is certified, which is on the which can certify a patient brain dead, has to have a brain death declaration committee. This brain death declaration committee has to have at least 4 members, which includes the medical superintendent, which includes the neurologist, which includes the ICU doctor, which includes the treating physician, but must not include any doctor who has any interest in transplant patients. That means he cannot be a part of the brain death committee if he is also a heart failure program doctor or kidney doctor, because then he may have a vested interest. He may be thinking about sick patients in his unit rather than thinking about this particular patient who's actually dead or not dead. So then this brain death declaration committee sees the patient and performs some basic tests, which are either apnea test or dorsal movement test, brain stem reflexes test, which we know it, which is considered as the ultimate. And then after that test comes that shows that the patient is brain dead. Even then the patient is not declared brain dead. Then the test is to be repeated after 6 hours again. And if after 6 hours again these same features were found, then only the patient is declared brain dead, and then only the discussion from the family and the organs can be retrieved after that, once the certificate of brain death declaration has been done. So this is a very, very diligent process, which is done by highly experienced and knowledgeable people. They diagnose brain death after due diligence, and then only organs can be retrieved.
So I think this is a very important point that Dr. Vishal has said, that if you want to help people, like Kannan told us that it's a noble gesture to help people. If you want to help people, then one has to go all the way out and see if a patient is brain dead or not. You cannot wait for 6 hours before you decide to donate an organ. You cannot wait for the heart to stop before you decide to donate an organ. But when we say a patient is brain dead, थोड़ा तो डर लगता है कहीं ये जाग तो नहीं जाएगा. I mean, I'm giving a consent for my relative's organs to be harvested. But am I doing something wrong? I mean, am I being in a hurry to do that? That fear is always there. So that is the misconception he tried to remove, that there are certain reflexes in the brain, which if they are absent for about 6 hours, then your brain is not going to recover. And if these tests are done diligently by people who do not have a motive, then nowhere in the world has it occurred that, or no study has shown that people who once declared brain dead have recovered. So that teaching has to go up, that brain death is irreversible death. But mind you, This is only for purposes of organ transplant. You cannot use this definition for people dying at home. You cannot use this definition for people dying due to other illnesses who are not potential organ donors. So who are the people who are likely to be brain dead? Can any of you give us this answer from there? Who in your view are likely to be brain dead? Yeah, Ravindra, I'm sure you would have thought about it.
Sir, a died person, he would be a brain dead person. Like he's already died.
No, so this is the point that he tried to drive. Suppose you meet a road traffic accident and your brain gets smashed and you reach the hospital. And in the hospital, they put you on a ventilator, they put you on medicines, and they keep the heart beating, keep the blood pressure going, but the brain is gone. They do tests, we do tests like these brain death tests, and we say the brain is gone, it's not going to recover. So when there is irreversible destruction to the brain, that's the first thing. The brain should be irreversibly damaged. It's not that somebody drinks a bottle of alcohol and comes in coma and stupor and you say he's brain dead. No. So there should be a background of irreversible brain damage. Or if a person comes with a stroke and such a big stroke that he never sort of recovers from that stroke, or a patient has a cardiac arrest and you revive him. That is so common in hospitals. You know, he's had a cardiac arrest, you revive, but that man is not able to come out because the brain is irreversibly damaged. These are the patients who are going to be potential donors. If you meet an accident, you are brain dead on the road, and you don't reach an hospital, it's no use for organ donation. So that organs of that person is wasted. So this is the concept that he was trying to tell you as to what is brain dead and how do you make out a patient is brain dead. Two important things. Irreversible brain damage. Either you prove it by your reflexes, prove it structural damage has taken place by CT scans, and the patient should be on a ventilator. You cannot have a breathing person declared as brain dead, and always differentiate between a vegetative state and a coma state. So that is about brain dead. Now let's go to something lighter. The philanthropy behind donating an organ. Let's talk about this because that young minds, you know, you all are more into these sort of subjects than technical subjects that we are talking about. How many people can you save? How many people can one brain dead person save? Anybody make a guess?
Sir, 9. 9.
Yeah. Right. So just imagine 2 lungs, 1 heart, 1 kidney, 1 intestine, 2 kidneys. 2 kidneys, I'm sorry, thank you for that correction. So 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, 1 heart.
1 pancreas.
1 pancreas, 1
1
intestine. So these are the number of people that you can save.
And not only that, there are other organs also. So this is covered by the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. So there are tissues also which are required, like cornea, like heart valves, like bones. So, Dr. Narula, what happens if the organ is retrieved? You know, can we retrieve it and use it after indefinite time? Or
yeah, so the organ is made up of living cells, and we know that living cells need blood, they need oxygen, or they become irreversibly damaged. Now let's go on to organs which can be stored in a bank. You heard of organ storage banks? The cornea, for up to a week or 2 weeks you can store the cornea. Bones, cartilage, skin, up to 5 years you can store these organs in these organ storage banks. But there are certain organs where you don't have that freedom. For example, if you take out a heart, within 6 hours at the longest, you've got to transplant it. So if you take out the kidney, you can extend it up to 3 days. If you take out the liver, maybe you can go up to 12 hours. In other words, whenever we take out an organ, we put it in cold slush or cold ice, and you have perfusion machines. And you heard of the green corridor, which is created. Organs are flown from Chennai to Delhi, from Delhi to Chennai. Special aircrafts are flying organs. That is how seriously it is taken, this organ donation. So we do not remove an organ till we know that a donor is ready. Till the donor is ready, we keep the organ in the body and keep on managing with machines and perfusing the organ. So just because someone has decided to give an organ, don't worry, you can take the organ and transport it to the next hospital or next state where a donor is waiting for the organ. Now comes the very big question. After we've told you how long your organs can live, what is brain dead, what are the myths behind death, what is the magnitude of the problem in India? The next question is, if we have motivated you enough, how do you become an organ donor? What is your concept? Let's ask Kannan, what's your concept? How do you become an organ donor?
We actually become an organ donor when we voluntarily opt for donating, even when we are declared brain dead, as you said, and we voluntarily agree for donating our organs.
You want to give an organ, what will you do? Where will you go? Whom will you approach? How do you know where to go, whom to approach, what to sign, whom to tell that you are an organ? These are very basic things you must know, which Dr. Vishal would tell you.
So, this is indeed very confusing, and a lot of people are not able to do it because they don't know what to do. In fact, there are a lot of countries which have a simple opt-out program. That means everybody is a donor, irrespective. Unless until I say that I don't want to be a donor. So my driving license or my national identity card, something will have either a heart made or something on it, which will suggest that I am a donor. And if I don't want to be a donor, then I have to opt out of it. So Spain does this kind of thing, Singapore does, and all these programs where they have this system, they have very high organ donation rates. Unfortunately, in India, we don't have, some states are implementing it. It's a very, very welcome sign. We should all do it, in fact. But in India, we have to specifically go to either we go to National Organ Tissue Transplant Organization website and they issue a card, or we have these hospitalizations like Fortis Hospital and all the other hospitals. They are also running these campaigns to become an organ donor. In fact, I would request all of you to follow these. There are a lot of, in fact, non-profit organizations also, which are going into, which are collecting these cards and which are, giving people this card. But there's a lot of misconception about it, Dr. Nurullah, that if the person has a donor card and he reaches a hospital and he has met a very bad accident, then probably the organs will be retrieved without proper care to this patient. Is this so? How does it happen?
Yeah, so that is one of the fears one has. कि भैया मैंने organ card भर दिया, अब मैं hospital पहुंचूंगा, they will declare me brain dead and take away the organs and give it to somebody else for commercial purposes. Isn't that a fear in our minds? That's a fear, ना मैंने card भर दिया, अब मैं फंस गया, अब वो मेरे organs ले लेंगे the moment I reach the hospital. So let me approach this step by step. First step is, how do you become an organ donor? There is a NOTTO, N-O-T-T-O, government site. You go to that site and there's a drop-down box in which is written, do you want to be an organ donor? So they have a form. Your form will be filled. In that form, it is also mentioned that who is the relative whom you have informed that you are going to be an organ donor. Because remember, once you die, the body does not belong to you. It belongs to your next of kin. So whoever is your next of kin, he should know that you have volunteered to be an organ donor so that he can give consent when the time comes. So fill in that organ donation card and keep it. Keep that card. It's a laminated card which comes to you. Keep it with you. In a place like Bangalore, this morning, Dr. Vishal was telling me, in the driving license, they have introduced, I'm an organ donor. So this is an excellent idea. Where I was in armed forces, there in our cards, we used to carry that I am an organ donor. This is to create an awareness that the importance of organ donation. Now comes the fear. that when you reach a hospital, will they grab my organs and dispose of my body? The people involved in declaring you brain dead, they are in no way involved in your transplantation of organs. That is one. Second, there is no commerce allowed by the government in retrieving organs and transplanting organs. It is banned to do any commercial transaction. Third, there is a regulatory authority by the government of India and by the states. In Delhi, it is the NOTO. Any person who reaches a hospital and is declared brain dead, the NOTO is notified that this patient is in our hospital, he is declared brain dead. These are the organs his family wants, can be given to someone. Then the NOTO puts out a notification to various hospitals that, all right, suppose it is the heart, they will float it around to various hospitals that we have a heart, which hospital has got a patient ready to receive the heart. Then the heart is transported there. So also for the kidney, so also for the liver. So people who actually allocate the organs don't even know you. So it's a very impersonal, it's a third-party process.
It is in fact regulatory requirement that these files are kept separated and they do not meet each other.
Yeah, so nobody is going to grab your organs. Your organs are very safe with you. And if at any time you want to change your will, you want to change your statement that you want to donate an organ, go ahead and do it. No one can stop you from that.
And second important point is Dr. Narula already mentioned that even if you have a card in your pocket, the organs cannot be retrieved till your next of kin gives a consent. So the next of kin will only, if he wishes to follow your wish, if he thinks that you had this strong desire, he knows of it, and he knows that you wanted to donate organ, he would like to respect that wish and would go ahead with it, then only he can give a consent, because the consent that is required is his consent, not the consent of the donor at that time, because donor is already brain dead.
So I think for the last 45 minutes, we've been giving you some scientific information, some administrative information on how to be an organ donor. Now, the most important and difficult thing is motivating people to be organ donors. Now, that motivation has to come from within the society. It has to come from the youth, that how to motivate people to be organ donors. Now, that suggestion we would look forward from Raghavendra and Kannan.
Sir, first thing from my side, like the motivation, it can be, sir, some extra benefits that they can get in any hospital if they have donated, or about if they have given a very important thing that their family should get a better aids also. And also this stuff things also motivate other people also to just donate their organs.
Yeah, so Raghavendra, you touched a very difficult point of commerce in organ donation. Normally, what happens is once a person agrees to donate an organ, then from that moment onwards, the retrieval, the transport, the implementation is not billed to the patient. This problem doesn't arise in government hospitals. So once you decide you have donated, the retrieval process, the transportation process is not billed to anybody. But no incentive as yet is allowed by the government to be given to donors, because that leads to commerce. You know what happened in live-related kidney transplants? Incentives were being given to the donor to donate. And this story is known to all of you, what happened, why the program ran into dispute. So there should be no commerce in organ transplant. It is not ethical. Yeah, Kannan, what do you have to say?
Yes, sir. So like you said that most of the people are not aware of like how to donate, even though they are willing to donate. So according to me, awareness starts firstly at our home only. We should make our parents, make our grandparents aware like how to donate if they are willing to donate. And even if they are not willing to donate, we should first try to convince them, because there is no harm. And second comes the society. and the society, at society level, like since we are in college, so we can conduct webinars like this to create awareness. And yeah, the session and the awareness session goes on like this.
Excellent. Kannan, I'll give you an example. You see my white hair? So I have grandchildren. My grandson is in class 2 in Mumbai. So he came home one day and said that, what is liver transplant? And he explained the process of organ donation to me. So we asked him in class 2, how do you know about organ donation? He said, our ma'am told us that what is organ donation. So this is what you're saying, catch them young, explain to them when they are young, and explain to the leaders in society, that is your parents, your grandparents, because even they can donate bones, they can donate skin, they can donate their corneas. No? So it should start from home. If one of you go home and motivate 4 people, I think today our lecture has been successful. So we look forward to you people doing that.
And are there any questions? Can the audience want to ask anything? It's been probably a monologue till now, or dialogue rather.
So now from your side.
Like anyone have any queries or any question, they can just raise their hand and we will unmute you. Or they can ask in the chat box also. Sir, there is one question from my side, and the first question to Rastogi sir. Sir, in nowadays we can figure out youngsters are also having an early age heart attacks that they're having. Like someone's being very fit, they are doing very great in their own job, and they are doing all regular exercising. But after things like sir, they are having the heart attack. So what is the question? Like the main crux behind it. And sir, second thing, like sir, if you have donated your about your kidney, then if you have 2 kidney, the 1 kidney that you have donated, then to a parent person who have donated that kidney, like it can reduce its abilities also in doing this task or anything else. So sir, please throw some light on this type things also, like when we donate this type things.
So, okay, I'll take the first question and Dr. Narula can take the second one. The first question that you're saying that the instances of very young cardiac deaths despite seemingly normal individuals. So, and we are also alarmed by it. We are also seeing on a day-to-day basis that the patients with heart attacks, the age is reducing. Earlier, we used to see 40, 50 years was the average age where the patient used to come with heart attack. Now we see that in their 20s also the patients are coming with heart attack. And partly it is to be blamed by our, the stress level that are very high, the abnormal sleep and wake cycle. A lot of people don't get enough sleep. After COVID, a lot of people have started a very vigorous exercise routine, but their stress and their sleep is not as adequate. So we're seeing that without getting any regular tests done, without getting their lipid profile or fast or blood sugar or checking whether they have any other disease process checked, they just go into exercise program, and once they do vigorous exercise, then sudden plaque rupture can lead to heart attacks. Also, the number of smokers is increasing and young smokers are there. So smoking also leads to heart attack, even if the blockages are not very, very critical. So there are multiple factors about it, and there's no very simple or single answer. But yes, I agree with you that the instance is increasing, and we have to be very, very careful and not take any symptom very lightly. And one should take medical help. One should get medical checkup done regularly, routinely. And before undertaking any vigorous exercise, also we should make sure that we are physically fit to undertake that exercise. As far as the donation of the kidney and what happens to the donor, Dr. Narula?
Yeah, so kidney transplant has been going on since 1953, when the first kidney transplant was done. That's about how many years ago? That's about 70 years ago was the first kidney transplant. And a lot of experience has come up on what happens to kidney donors. What is important to remember is that by and large, donation is a safe process. Living donation is a safe process if the donors are selected carefully and with all precautions. nothing happens to the donor. But like I told you, we have followed up these donors for about 50 years now. So some of these donors do develop a little protein leak in the urine. Some of the donors do have a little rise in blood pressure. Some of these donors, very unusual, their creatinine levels may go up a little. That is the marker for kidney function. Because you must remember, if two kidneys are performing 100%, one kidney will perform 50%. But this 50% over a period of time compensates. It becomes 60%, it becomes 65%, which is very good for your normal healthy living. It doesn't affect your healthy living in any way. Very rare, since we are in a sort of a public discourse, I don't think we should go into the rare complications of organ donation. That can happen with anything. But one thing is certain, no one has been able to decide whether the rise of blood pressure, a little bit of protein leak in the urine, a little bit of rise of creatinine is due to the natural aging of the individual, or is it because of organ donation? So it is a safe process, and one should not have apprehensions about donating a kidney.
So here in the chat box, I see a very, very interesting question by or point by Sarthak. He says that is organ donation and transplanting process will be more relevant in future modernized technology than today? What is its effects and the merits which added and demerits which reduced? So here I can say one point that the process is evolving and we are going to be better in that. And in fact, one of the biggest problem with our organ donation like heart is that if I have to take a heart from the heart is available in South and the donor is there in South and the recipient is in Delhi, I have to, the moment I have cross-clamped the aorta, that means I have taken the heart out and then I have connected this to the patient's body, the recipient's body, it cannot be more than 6 hours. 4 is optimum, but 6 is maximum. If it is after 6, then this heart will get damaged. However well you have preserved it, will get damaged and the recipient may not have a proper heart. So now there are technologies in place which will make this process longer. That means this heart can be preserved in a in vitro system. That means outside of the body, it can be beating, it can be kept nutritional, oxygenated, and this heart can be used for up to 24 hours. That means organ which is there at a very, very distant place, the recipient can be at a very, very distant place and this can be transported. So on one hand, we are saying that there is a paucity of organs, and on the other hand, we see a lot of wastage of organs because of the same reason. So this wastage part can be avoided if we are, using those systems. Of course, they are expensive now, but then they are in pipeline. The other important thing is that the life of these organ recipients after the organ donation. So now we have so beautiful drugs that 95% of those patients who survive the first year, they reach their normal functional level. A person of the heart failure who is bed bound practically and is just in and out of the ICU again and again, is not able to breathe in, breathe out, not even able to do his daily chores. But after organ donation, within few months, he is able to go back to his routine life, which includes his job and everything else. So my patients who have received organs 7 years back, 8 years back, the boy was 16 years at the time, is now a father of 2 sons, and has completed his studies, is doing good job and everything. So a lot of patients are there who go back to their normal life after the organ donation. So this field is evolved to a great extent. Of course, we are evolving, but then this is a wonderful area, and it is so rewarding to see those patients do so well in life who were so desperate or who were so in such a bad shape before.
Yeah, so the second question in the chat box is, can individuals register their whole body, whichever part can be utilized for donation, or only for specific organs? So if you go to the Noto site, you will find there's specific mention of organs wanting to donate. And they mentioned all the 9-10 organs that you can donate. So you have to tick all the boxes that you are willing to donate, whether it be the kidney, heart, pancreas, small intestine, liver, skin, bone, cartilage, cornea. You have to tick everything that you can donate. Whatever you don't tick, of course, that means you are not wanting to donate those particular parts of your body.
Even
Thank
at
you
the
for
time
your
of, even at the time of death, the family may decide not to donate a particular organ depending on whatever they want. So it's always, the choice of the donor as well as the family.
Yeah, Kannan, what were you saying?
Sir, I guess Sakshi wants to speak something.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, Sakshi. All right. Are there any more messages or any more questions, or we just think everybody knows everything now? Can't unmute myself. Another question.
So she is having another question, so
Yeah,
we
okay.
can take that as well.
Since she can't unmute, she can just type it in the chat box.
Sir, I may ask another question. I am Sakshi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, suppose a person is suffering from a communicable disease, take HIV. Are they allowed to donate their organs to another person who is suffering from the same disease? Can that be utilized?
Yeah, that's a very, very intelligent question you asked. Apparently, you have read it somewhere. Now, it's this way. Why do you take HIV? Let me take more common in India, hepatitis B. So, if you have hepatitis B and you have another patient who has to be given that organ who's also hepatitis B positive, so we have very good drugs and you can accept this organ. Now you take HIV. Actually, the word HIV is no longer being used in the medical text. We call it people living with immunocompromised state or people living with HIV/AIDS. We don't use the word HIV. So if the disease is under control, that is, you look at the absolute lymphocyte count, you look at the viral load, and the other patient has got HIV, this is a very, very moral or an ethical question, but there have been instances where kidneys have been donated. Because now we have such good drugs to control the HIV virus replication. But I would caution you that don't go with the impression that an infected kidney can be transplanted. No, an infected kidney should not be transplanted because of the immunosuppression that we use. A cancerous kidney should not be transplanted. A kidney with a low kidney function should not be transplanted.
So here are 2-3 points which are there. Number one, is the disease, communicable disease, active disease or a silent disease? If the person is having any active infection, of course, he cannot be donor. So anybody, in fact, who's in the ICU for long enough, waiting on the ventilator, they have had multiple surgeries in the body, and now the blood cultures are positive, the person is not a donor and the organs cannot be retrieved. But yes, as sir has mentioned, that if the there's a silent disease inside, patient can be transplanted depending on the requirement. So there comes the concept of marginal donors. And if the patient is not a very good donor, but you have somebody who's in the ICU who's going to die, like in case of heart, in kidney you have dialysis support and a lot of other things which can save the patient. But for heart, if the heart is not functioning, the patient is going to die. And I have a patient who's not, I'm not able to shift the patient from ICU to the ward, and the patient is really going to die in next 1 week if I don't do anything. And in 1 week, I'm not likely to get a very good heart. In that case, I can take a heart from a donor who's either overage, like 65 years and above, which normally I would not accept, or I would take this type of organ also, which has some, patient may have some diseases which I may be able to control later on. But yes, these are marginal donors and they can be accepted depending on the requirement.
Yes, Sakshi, you've raised a very ethical dilemma. Whether HIV infected organs should be transplanted into another individual. There is no answer. There are no clear guidelines on this. So every case would have to be dealt at its own merit upon the need of an organ in that patient.
Thank you, doctors. That was really informative.
Okay.
So do we call it a day? Thank you very much. We enjoyed talking to you young people, though we wish there were more questions from your side rather than lectures on our side. But please do go home, ponder over it, and try to motivate people to be organ donors. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you, for sharing your perspective. Your words and the way you explained, that was truly inspiring and informative. Your experiences truly highlight the power of organ donation. to change lives positively. So it's essential to dispel these myths to encourage more people to consider becoming an donors and save lives. So in order to take this session further, I would like to call upon Raghavendra for vote of thanks and for the pledge.
Sir, first of all, it's a great honor and a privilege for me to deliver today's vote of thanks, since we are having a webinar on National Organ Donation Day, and it is under the campaign of Angdan Mahotsav that we're having. So, sir, a vote of thanks is being very small. That is service that you all guys have given to the nation, sir. And also, I want to just say, like this type of philanthropist and altruistic works are being very nicely brought out by you, sir. And as our Prime Minister said about, like doctors are the real warriors, and so still it's been a great thing. Like we have heard about, like a lot of in-depth knowledge and profound knowledge of organ donations, about kidney and the 9 organs that we can donate and give a new life and at least a new life to any person that you're having. So moving ahead, sir, also, I'm being very much grateful on the behalf of NSS, sir, where that you have accepted an invitation by the first call that you given to you all. And then after that, we are going to extend a special invitation and special like a gratitude to our NSS convener that he just given us to go ahead. Also, every volunteer who just given their efforts to make this event. So at the last, I would like to just say, like we are going to have the pledge of the National Organ Donation Day. So everyone kindly please mute yourself, and then after please open your cameras, then we can have the pledge. So kindly repeat it after me, and please be in the position. Like in that way, you can also have in that way. So everyone kindly be in that position, so we can have.
Can we see the young faces also who are going to make a pledge?
Yes, volunteers, please just be in the position. So kindly repeat it after me. I, your name, Raghavendra Chaube,
Sakshi,
pledge to donate
pledge to donate
such of my organs
such of my organs
and tissues
and tissues
as could be
as could be
used after my death
used after my death
to give new lives
to give new lives
to those in a need,
to those in need,
keeping in view
keeping in view
the shortage of organs
the shortage of organs
and tissues
and tissues
for transplantation
for transplantation
in our country. I also pledge that I will make all the efforts to inspire my family, friends, and fellow citizens to donate organs and tissues after death. So, thank you, everyone. Sakshi, Kanan, over to you.
Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today. Together, let's create a future where organ transplantation is accessible to all who require it. Stay safe, take care, goodbye, namaskar. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Okay.